Hey, what's going on, YouTube? I just wanted to talk about this story that I recently read. And this happened in Temperance, Michigan, in Monroe County, which is kind of like up in North Michigan, I believe. Upper North Michigan, Northern Michigan, by the way. So this is about a CPS story, a CPS case where CPS pretty much did nothing. They kind of like they hindered their efforts pretty much. They hindered the whole entire assist for these kids. This is a story about a Michigan sheriff who pretty much he did everything as far as like everything he could possibly do to help these kids who were living homeless in a tent. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the video and share it with you guys. But I want to talk about how messed up CPS is, or how bad CPS is, that they failed to even take action on this situation. And the reason why I'm bringing this to awareness is because a lot of these cases that we've been having recently, that we've been seeing on YouTube or in the news, it's a CPS case, and it's gotten to be a national crisis at this point, from state to state. It doesn't matter which state or city you in, they're failing horribly, and I believe that something has to be done about it. It has to, because they're not taking accountability. There's no reprimand for them at all. They get like a slap on the wrist and pretty much are able to go back to their 9-to-5s every day, helping people out, or lack thereof, shall I say. But when I heard this video and saw it, it just was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way in hell. And I want to say shout out to this sheriff who did everything in his power to help these kids, because the sheriff actually did more action and did more than the actual CPS. He went beyond his job scope to do everything for these kids, pretty much everything in and outside of his job description, on and off the clock, to help these kids. And CPS did absolutely nothing. They did nothing. But I'm gonna stop ranting for a minute. I'm gonna get back to it. But I want to play this video with you guys to share it with you, to see just how bad CPS is. And I want you guys to really pay close attention to it. Give me 1 second, folks. Sorry.
Sheriff's deputies, a family, including 2 young children, found living in a tent.
Now, we're not naming the family to respect their privacy, but tonight we are revealing how a local sheriff says that Children's Protective Services hindered his efforts to help put those kids in a safer place.
Tonight, 7 investigator Ross Jones continues his investigation into CPS in Michigan and how lawmakers are reacting tonight.
I truly believe the individuals that occupy these positions, what I would refer to as boots on the street, want to do the right thing. They want to help these children.
But Monroe County Sheriff Troy Goodenough doesn't understand why it took so long for the state to help 2 young children living in squalor. His deputies first found them and their family in November 2023, responding to an anonymous call about their alarming living conditions.
They found a mother living in a
I was on mute. I apologize. So 2023, that was like 2 years ago. And they've been in the same predicament ever since. And this is here in Michigan. And we know how Michigan winters are frigid. They get below zero, -0. But I'm going to go ahead and play it again.
In a tent behind a home with 2 children.
The tent was covered with a tarp found behind a home in Temperance, Michigan, about 20 minutes north of Toledo. Inside were 2 small children, a mother and grandfather. Deputies said there was food, a space heater, and a mattress on the ground inside. The family said they could use the bathroom in the home next door if they needed to. The children were not in school.
It was obvious the living conditions were challenging, and the children definitely appeared to be unbathed.
Deputies were told that the children's mother was dealing with serious health problems and was short of funds. The sheriff's office didn't want to separate the family, they said, but wanted them to find better living conditions. So they alerted Children's Protective Services. It's not clear what help, if any, CPS offered after that first visit. But Sheriff Goodenough says his deputies were told there was nothing the agency could do. The food, heat, and mattress found inside the tent were sufficient for living.
Hello, it's Deputy here at the Sheriff's Office. Anyone in here?
A year later, in December, deputies would be called again to the same tent behind the same house.
How long have you guys been living in here for?
Probably about a week or so now.
The family said they returned to the tent after being kicked out of their home. Temperatures were in the low 40s that night, and as a deputy talked to the grandfather, the sounds of children coughing could be heard from the tent.
Prior to this, she was at the kid's dad's parents' house.
Okay. Is the young one sick or anything?
Yeah, they both got a cough. She just took him to urgent care yesterday.
One of the children looked dirty, deputies wrote. Another was wearing a soiled diaper barely covering her body. They were still not enrolled in school, and their mother, still battling serious health problems, didn't have a job. She said her ex-boyfriend occasionally drops off food for the children to eat.
Our deputies said, man, we've got to do something here. They reached out to CPS. They said, listen, we've investigated this. There's not much we can do.
Fast forward to 4 months later, and deputies would encounter the family again.
You don't want to go to the sheriff's department at all. Well, we can get you some clothes and stuff for you to change.
This time, they weren't living in a tent, but in a car. They'd been there for the last 3 weeks, deputies were told. One of the children could not remember the last time she took a shower, but said it was well before Christmas. Her head lice was so severe that bugs were visibly falling out of her hair. When she needs to use a restroom, she said she would sometimes go to the bathroom on herself.
I'm going to pause it right there. This is getting way, way too graphic. And it's just sad to hear that these kids are going through this. To the point where they have head lice from being on the street. And the child not remembering when the last time she used the bathroom, or I mean, not the last time she used the bathroom, but the last time she bathed, and she couldn't remember. She said before Christmas. Wow. So they went from it looks as if they were put out their home and they were trying to survive in a car, I guess. And I believe the tent was like located in the backyard or a vacant lot. I believe a vacant lot is what it was, but. I'm just baffled how these kids are going through this, and they're not even in school. So it's just like what the state of Michigan just is failing. Like, into the mother situation, her being or being not able to work due to health issues. I feel like at some point the state should have. There is resources and there is assistance for people in that situation. So I'm not understanding why. Nobody reached out to even try to get this mother those resources at all, or any type of assistance through the state. But I'm gonna keep playing it.
For the third time, the sheriff's office said it notified CPS, who told deputies they were unable to help without an active case being open.
You have a family in a car that we've brought into our facility now that you see they are not meeting their basic needs, and there's nobody to help.
So I'm gonna pause it. CPS said they could not do anything because there was not an open active case for the kids. But this is the sheriff who's bringing this case to you to let you know the situation. Am I not correct? I'm gonna keep listening to see how they do their job. Really, I want to know what the ins and outs to CPS is. At what point do they get off their ass and do their job? But I'm gonna keep playing.
We should be helping these families before the children need to be taken. Taking children out of a family from mother and father is the last thing the state should ever do.
Representative Luke Meerman chairs the House Oversight Subcommittee on Child Welfare, overseeing CPS. It was through those hearings that he learned of the sheriff's frustrations with the agency.
To me, that's a sign of a broken system that's failing the Michigan families when they need it most.
The sheriff says his deputies ultimately took the action he hoped CPS would, lining up temporary shelter for the family through a nearby church. At the same time, the sheriff said he reached out directly to CPS, and it was only then, he says, that the agency became fully engaged with the family.
So the sheriff is doing way more things than he's supposed to do than CPS is. He's putting way more effort in, boots on the ground and everything. Like, I don't understand what would gaslight these CPS people to open up a case and do something. Like, they're not even taking action when a sheriff is enforcing them or asking them to do so, when law enforcement is asking them to do so. So I'm kind of stuck and baffled on at what point does CPS get involved or get active, like, or does their job. Like, I'm seeing nothing from them at all.
He still doesn't understand why it took this long.
When I posed that question to an individual at CPS, they said, well, they're homeless and they have no money. What do you want us to do? And my question was,
exactly,
because they're homeless and they have no money, we just wash our hands of it?
In a statement, the Department of Health and Human Services pushes back on the sheriff's comments.
What was the dumbass comment they said? I got to go back.
Because they're homeless and they have no money, we just wash our hands of it?
In a statement, the Department of Health and Human Services pushes back on the sheriff's comments, saying in part, mislabeling poverty as neglect is harmful to families. It adds another barrier that prevents families from reaching out for help. Child welfare should support, not penalize families. When the department doesn't find evidence of abuse or neglect, a spokeswoman said, they connect families to child abuse and neglect prevention resources in their local community who may work directly with the family to help meet their unique needs, such as food, housing, transportation, and...
But they didn't do that. I'm gonna keep playing it, but I don't see signs that they're doing that at all. Because otherwise, the sheriff would not be taking the full responsibility of doing all these things that they're supposed to be doing, right?
Healthcare. Citing privacy laws, they would not comment on the specifics of this case.
They're in a safe place now, which we should have done back in November of 23. My mission on this is not to cause disruption or upheaval. It's to change policy and make change so that whatever's needed, we don't have to have this conversation again.
Sheriff Goodenough stresses that he didn't want the children separated from their parents. His goal was finding better living conditions than a tent or car. If it took this much work for a sheriff, he asks, how hard might it be for anyone else? I'm Ross Jones, 7 News Detroit.
Wow, thank goodness that sheriff stepped in.
Thank goodness, but HHS said it's their job to support, not penalize, but he was looking for support.
Exactly.
He was looking for support, and it took 3 years, and it took the voice of a sheriff to get that child who had bugs, lice falling out of her hair, to get them help and get them in a safer place.
His voice over and over. Yeah. All right.
Wow. So that's the end of that video. It was like a 7-minute video. But I just wanted to share that to raise the awareness about CPS and what's really going on. They actually do need to do a better job. It's at some point we gotta do something about their ways, their policies, their procedures, and whatnot. Because state to state, they're failing. That's all I'm gonna say. But I just wanted to share this information with you guys. Please reshare this video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not. And I want to say thank you for pulling up, but not really pulling up because it's a video that I recorded. But I will be back later on with another story with you guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good one.